Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be doing an unboxing of the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4090. So this is the official, what everyone calls the Founders Edition model. This is their reference consumer card for consumer desktops. You can see it is fully sealed here. I picked it up from Best Buy because Best Buy is really the only place where you can get this, at least in North America as far as I'm aware. Otherwise you're having to buy the gamer looking AIB cards. So this one is the MSRP model at just around $1,600. So it's very expensive. It has 24 gigabytes of VRAM. We're going to be taking a look at this card in AI workloads because this gives us access to CUDA. Now I could have done a lot of that with the 3090 Ti, but I wanted to check and see if there's any differences with the new Ada architecture. Alright, so I managed to peel back the tape without tearing it. It says tear, but I don't want to tear it, so I managed to somehow get it away from underneath the bottom, work at it and get it open. So now we're going to go ahead and lift it up. So it opens up, it turns a rectangle into a triangle. So interestingly enough, it's like convolving two rectangles makes a triangle. That's cool. So that's kind of nerdy, but anyway, it has a cool way of opening. So this is the 4090 cooler. If we take it off of the, it lifts off here. So it is very similar, at first glance, it's very similar to the 3090 Ti. The fan is definitely larger. The fins definitely seem ever so slightly more spaced out. It is slightly thicker, but it feels a little bit lighter, but it is actually a little bit shorter. So let's see what else we got in here. Looks like there's a pull-out. There's like a plastic or cardboard. And then in here is going to be the adapter cable. So it's got a nice presentation in terms of the box. So we've got the steps on how to install it. So we've got warning, GeForce support guide. So Nvidia used to have the nice like GeForce badge. I don't know why they got rid of that, but I missed that. That was something that the Founders Edition Pascal 10 series cards had. So this is the it's like the 16 pin. This is the controversial plug that you have to use. Now I'm not going to be using this because I'm going to be using an actual power supply that has the cable natively, so I don't need to use any of that stuff, so we're going to put that back. Let's do some side-by-side comparisons of the 4090 with some of the other graphics cards in my collection. So just to kind of show off the 4090 cooler, it feels almost like smooth off, but it has almost like a concave look to it. If we compare it side-by-side to AMD's current flagship, the RX 700 XTX, so it is a little bit taller, ever so slightly, about half an inch taller, I would say. If we look at the thickness of the two, it's wider. So you can see this is the AMD card is a 2.5 slot, about 3 slot. The RTX 4090 is a 3 slot. All right, moving on the back, you get an HDMI, and then you have 3 DisplayPort 1.4, I believe. Well, this is HDMI 2.1, and this is DisplayPort 1.4. So nothing really changed on the DisplayPort front compared to the previous generation. If we compare it with an RX 6900 XT, if we compare them side by side, the Nvidia GPU is pretty substantial. The one thing though is it looks like the height of it to the back is a little bit taller than normal, so that might cause some potential compatibility issues with some NVMe drives or something. We'll have to see. That remains to be seen. I don't think it'll be an issue, but we'll look at it here shortly. Just to kind of compare it to a 3080 Ti. So the 3080 was kind of the first one to introduce this really nice looking industrial cooler design that Nvidia has been using on the Ampere series, and that kind of translated over to the 4090 cards, at least the reference cards, and I'm a big fan of this look. So you can see 3080 Ti and 4090. Okay, just to kind of run through them. So here is the 4090, and then we have the 3090 Ti. So the 3090 Ti is a little bit different from the 3090. The cooler is physically the same as the 3090. However, one thing about the 3090 Ti that a lot of people may have forgotten is that it was the first graphics card to introduce the infamous 12+4 12-volt very high power connector. So the 4090 carried over with that tradition. If you put them side by side, you can see that the 3090 Ti is a little bit longer. It's ever so slightly longer. If we try to line them up here, and it's a little bit thinner. So the 4090 is thicker and shorter. I am going to be testing this 4090 with the Ryzen 9 7950X3D because this is the fastest CPU. So it's the best that I've got in terms of not bottlenecking this graphics card on the CPU end. Where the 3090 Ti was the previous card that I was using with the CPU, we're going to be changing it out for the 4090. And we'll also be doing some other testing with AMD for AI. But right now, most of it is going to be looking at CUDA performance on Ada for productivity. So I don't expect to use this for gaming. So those of you who watch my live streams where I showcase some games every now and then and we talk about technology, don't expect this to be the main computer. The main computer will continue to be using the 7900 XTX. There's no reason for me to change from that. The card works fine. It's 24 gigabytes of VRAM. It's done a real excellent job so far. But for benchmarking and testing, kind of playing around with AI and that sort of thing, the CUDA ecosystem is currently very dominant in that regard. So we are going to be comparing 3090 Ti to the 4090 because there is currently no way for me to get a 4090 Ti. Otherwise I would have gotten the 4090 Ti if it was available. And that's kind of why I decided to just go ahead and get this, since there's a rumor of GPU shortages for the AI market, and I'm already starting to catch wind of that actually happening, and that will slowly trickle down into the consumer market. So these graphics cards that you see here, these 24 gigabyte graphics cards in particular, so this, the XTX, the 4090, and the 3090 and 3090 Ti, these cards are going to be in very high demand for consumer level GPU alternatives to the professional AI market. So let's go ahead and get this installed into the system. Okay, to install it, you want to make sure you're using the natural cable that connects straight into the power supply for this. I don't recommend using the adapter. You can if you want, but I highly recommend using an official cable that has this connector on both ends, one to the power supply and the other to the actual graphics card. So this is how I've been running the 3090 Ti. This is a power spec 1250 watt from Micro Center, which includes that native plug. So it can handle all the transient loads. To install the 4090 into the computer, you want to make sure you remember to remove this little protector that it includes for the PCIe connector, like so. Okay, so when you install the card, you're going to want to make sure you have it line up with the PCIe slot that's going to plug into. So you just line it up, and then it clicks in, so that's in. This card is actually very well built, so I'm not going to worry about it sagging because it has triple screw holes on the back, so it should be good support-wise, but it is going to put a bit of stress on the actual PCIe slot. So we will secure it with the support bracket. Okay, so once you have that in, you're going to want to plug this cable in. Make sure that you don't bend it directly at the connector. You'll hear it click in like that. That way we don't have to worry about it catching fire. And that's how it looks like installed in the system with the deep cool, and we have a Gen 5 inland SSD in there. You can see it in there. So we don't have any clearance problems with the cooler or any of that. So it looks like it's working. The Thunderbolt card fits in down there. So it should be good to go. Hope you guys found this video useful, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.